Gavin here from makingwithmetal.com. I'm here with my good friend, Eric Peterson, and we are sitting in this totally awesome shipping container shop that we built together. Eric has been with me from the start. We did this whole cool project on a budget, and in this video, we're going to talk about these totally cool custom shop doors that we built on a tiny budget. But before we get into that, I want to introduce Eric to you all. Now, Eric is, we're kind of like a band of brothers of two. We're kind of like partners in crime. Eric brings out kind of the best Evel Knievel in me, and he's also phenomenally talented with metalworking, with building houses and construction, with wheelies, anything that needs to be done. But what I think is interesting about Eric is his story. So do you want to talk about how your new life philosophy came to be real quick?
Sure. Basically 5 years ago, I had a near-death experience where I thought it was the end and the demise, and I thought I was on my way out. And when I recovered from it, nothing was the same. Life was completely different from that day forward. Things that you think would matter don't matter anymore. And life is so short, so you got to live it up to the max every day.
And so your heart valve was replaced. You had a rare condition. You've got 2 kids and a wife at your bedside, and all of a sudden it's like every day is a new day and every day is an adventure.
Absolutely.
And then I'm a little bit more of the over-analytical type. So I think together we kind of average out to somewhere in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we love to build stuff.
Absolutely.
And so when I looked at this 12-foot by 12-foot opening and I got a quote for doors, I was looking at between $4,000 and $6,000 for an industrial setup with the windows that I wanted and with an industrial opener.
Right.
And the trade-offs were, I've got this peaked ceiling in here, and it's really, really high. And I drive the backhoe through, and I'm going to put a gantry system in with an I-beam to lift things. And I didn't want to cover all of that up with a door or with tracks. And I figured, what if we could build this bad boy for $1,500 which is what I ended up spending.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Okay, so then I went about sketching all of this out on paper. 2 6x12 doors. One would open first, the other one would open on the other, or close on the other one. And we would weld the hinges in place, make it all out of 3x3 quarter wall angle iron, basically, get some custom windows made, and they turned out great. They function great. You know, I did a custom system for the closing latches and turned out all on the lathe and did some mill work on all that. But let's start kind of at the beginning of this process. So I ordered the steel. Yeah. We got a local company, Oxark, and they got us supplied with some angle iron and 20-foot sections.
20 foot.
Yep. So we got the metal cutting bandsaw out and cut everything, a lot of
angles, a lot of welding. Basically built it on the floor, framed it up, squared it out, installed it, set it to fit, welded it up, and away we went.
Well, and that was, I thought, what was a good sort of process was to get things tacked on the floor. And what we did was we sort of tacked either side of each corner, and then that gave us enough strength to get it up in place, but then we were able to shim it.
Able to shim it and get it set to the right angle that we wanted and make sure it was perfect. And we were able to support it and weld it in place. Yeah,
so then we put the 2-piece hinges on, and they've got the Zerk fittings for grease. And then we put the diagonal supports on so that they wouldn't sag. And that was, again, out of 3x3 quarter wall.
Out of 3x3, nice and strong. We were able to hang off it. Yeah. Like the moment we welded it, we both, you know, I'm 200 pounds. We were able to hang on, and it didn't budge. Yep. Didn't move.
And then at that point, we had a frame. We framed in the windows so that we could fur those in. And I ordered those windows from Home Depot. I think total for both windows it was like $180, which
it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, they're almost 6 feet wide and they're about 2 feet high. So they give you a really nice view of the mountains, and you know,
it's good lighting.
Yeah. Now, then there was the time-consuming parts, right? Getting all of the furring in was really a long process. All the drilling and countersinking.
A lot of drilling, a lot of countersinking. It was incredibly time consuming, but totally worth it. You know, it's one of those things you got to do if you want to build your own stuff. You got to do it right. You know.
Now, tell me real quick. You've built a lot of custom railings.
Oh yeah.
Custom metal work. You have a plasma table. We've done some cutting on that before.
Yep.
Tell me real quick about kind of your welding philosophy. What do you look for in a piece of equipment, and what's your process? You know, picking the wire, picking the amperage,
picking everything, yeah.
fine-tuning it so that it's going to be running just perfect.
So a lot of things come with, over time, you get a lot of experience and you find out through trial and error what works and what doesn't work. So for me, it has a lot to do with my background and my experience. I started welding when I was like 14 years old. My dad bought a welder and said, go ahead and have fun with that. And so I just started, you know, figuring out what worked, what didn't, you know, and over time, you just kind of know. You're like, okay, well, this is this thick and we got to go this hot. And if we don't go this hot, it's not going to work. So primarily, you know, good equipment, you get what you pay for. When it comes to welding gear, a lot of guys buying the old Harbor Freight stuff, having not so much good luck. But, you know, you get what you pay for. You get good quality products, and you get good quality results. So.
And for this project, we used my trusty Lincoln Power MIG 200, which is an industrial machine. It's got a high duty cycle. It's got really beefy drive rolls.
It's a beast.
On it, yeah. And it's there's higher amperage machines out there, but as you know,
you don't need that much.
It's more about having a stable arc. I got a custom sort of support I made for dual cylinders, so I can have aluminum and mild steel bottles on there at the same time. It's got the spool gun. It's been a great machine, and it really worked well for this project.
Can't go wrong.
You did skip a part though, didn't you? Work in a shop, and you had sort of an apprenticeship, miniature apprenticeship kind of thing for welding.
Yeah, basically I got hired to work at a welding shop, and I went in there with the basic knowledge, but I left there with a massive amount of knowledge. I learned how to TIG weld, aluminum, stainless, you know, everything from cutting with a cold saw to make these really nice compound miter cuts for really particular parts. Things that I had never done before. I was opening the door to all these opportunities, and when I left there with a wealth of knowledge that I was not expecting to have.
I see, and that's where I've had the longer journey sometimes of doing everything self-taught, and yes, with YouTube. You know, there's a lot of great resources out there, but sometimes it's hard to boil down everything to the fundamentals and get good, reliable knowledge. And that's where working under someone that's an expert, you know, is super, super valuable.
Knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
That's all there is to it.
One of the key things I look for when I'm welding is just to make sure that you've got sufficient penetration and a good heat affected zone. Where, you know, you want to make sure that the metal is flowing together. You don't have a bunch of crud in there. So of course the prep work is important.
Prep is a big deal, especially on aluminum, especially with stainless as well. You got to make sure your surfaces are completely clean, and when all else fails, go hotter until you start melting and then back up a little bit. Once you start blowing through, you went too far. But a lot of people have the tendency to weld cold, which I was a victim of that as well. When I was starting, I thought, oh, I'm doing this great weld, and it didn't hold. And I was like, what happened? It looked awesome. It looked awesome, but it wasn't hot enough to penetrate the metal. So, you know, you always go as hot as you can and then back up just a step, and you're good to go.
Nice. So the welding went well. We had the frame in place. We put the furring in, and then it was time to sheet the doors. And what I found was the doors were a little bit wobbly.
A little bit.
There was some flex in them, some twists.
Missing some shear strength.
Yes, exactly. And putting the outer, you know, sheeting on helped that a lot, but it wasn't until the inner sheeting went on, of course, when you have sort of like an I-beam, you know, that stiffened it up tremendously.
Big time.
But before the internal sheeting was the insulation, and I used 2-inch rigid foam insulation, like Foamular. This is the Dow styrofoam that I was using for this, but about R10, and then, you know, double pane windows. That was actually an advantage over the roll-up doors, was the roll-up doors have the single pane windows. Which are practically zero.
They're nothing.
And then I think the door sections were like less than R10, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
Somewhere in that vicinity. So hopefully, you know, with this kind of a situation, we have good insulation. I love the way they open. They open almost instantly.
So cool.
Yeah, I'm going to open it right now because, you know, the way that works is pretty awesome.
Just doesn't get any cooler than that.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that I kind of ad hoc engineered, I had this idea in my mind about spring-loaded pins, right? We talked with one of the neighbors about just pulling a pin, maybe with a cable or whatever. But I thought, wouldn't it be nice if you could have them both spring-loaded and have kind of a lever, and it would just pull them both. So
it works great.
Yeah, I got to work. I used some of the 3x3 angle iron. I had a bunch of 5/8 inch steel cold rolled round bar sitting around.
Yep.
Got some springs, machined the donuts with the set screws, and it works great.
Works awesome.
So at the end of the day, I'm really happy with it. I think I'm going to go on the outside with the metal roofing for a little bit of appearance, but mostly fire protection.
Fire protection primarily.
Don't want any exposed wood out here.
Not generally, not in this neck of the woods.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I will have a write-up, and I'm actually going to include some hand-drawn plans if you want to take on this kind of a project. And it did take a little bit more time than I thought, I will admit.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
The end product is awesome.
The end product is awesome, and it was fun to do, and I saved a bunch of money.
Bunch of money.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about making some doors, check out the plans that I've got in the detailed write-up below. And if you've got your own door build story, please drop a comment. Till next time, happy metalworking. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you don't want to miss any of the action here on GavintooB, please subscribe to my channel. See y'all later.